channel and also WhatsApp group. And today we have got one of our group admin who have just completed his master's degree, and he have actually submitted for examination. Congratulations, Mr. Admin, for a good job.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, welcome to our group. And in this series, the purpose of these interviews, I name it overcoming masters and degree challenges series. So, and the purpose is for us to share our journey, is for us to talk. I believe that everyone have got a story to tell, especially for those that have walked this road of masters and degree. It's actually master's degree, doctoral degrees. It's actually a very tough intellectual journey, and everyone who have actually walked this path have got something to share. And I also encourage everyone to come forward, ask for some session, ask for some interview time, so that we can also interview and hear your story. I always say we want to journey our academic journey, our academic road, whilst we tell your story. So welcome, Mr. Admin, and can you tell us about your study?
Thank you. So basically, my study, because study never really finishes, I don't know whether to say was or is. So my study was on utilizing alternative fuels in cement production. So my main area of study was, I chose municipal solid waste as an alternative fuel in the production of cement. So basically what we did, what I did is I tried to look for a way to use general waste, as we know it, to come up with a carbon effective fuel that can be used to reduce the carbon footprint of cement production, and at the same time reduce the effects of carbon dioxide in waste management. As we know, landfills, they have quite a lot of anthropogenic gases that result, like methane. When you stockpile waste in a dam site, you have a lot of nitrogen, carbon dioxide, methane, and a lot of other, greenhouse gases. So my research was trying to minimize greenhouse gas emissions on two fronts, which is carbon dioxide in waste management and in cement production, because these are actually key areas in carbon dioxide challenges. Cement production alone goes for around 8%, constitutes of 8% of all global carbon dioxide emissions every year. So it's quite an area of concern, because it affects our global targets for global warming. So more or less, that is what I researched.
Oh, that's wonderful. And what were your findings?
My findings were indeed, it's quite it's a critical area. It's very important to understand that if you want to rid of carbon dioxide emissions, it's not only going to be a linear process of, oh, I'm going to put this technology and it's going to change it. So for me, my style, there are a lot of findings that I found. Obviously, research findings based on the research methods I used. You can say, my main method is replace coal. So as it stands, South Africa is using coal. South Africa is part of the G20 Global 20 coal users and exporters. And if we are going to use municipal solid waste, we'll reduce coal, the effects of coal by at least 20% of CO2, which is very significant. So that is my biggest finding, that indeed municipal solid waste is the integrity to replace coal as fuel. We're talking about the physical and chemical properties of municipal solid waste and of coal that makes it ideal as a fuel. So there is technological efficiency, operational efficiency, and environmental efficiency. So in terms of municipal solid waste, it ticks all these boxes, and it is actually a fuel that is used across the world. And South Africa needs to use it more. As it stands, I think it's only about one plant in the country that is using it. There's another one which tried to use it, but for some reason there is always a challenge. So my other third variable was about challenges and opportunities in the industry. So I engaged in industry professionals. We discussed how to basically break these barriers and put in solutions that will promote, the palatability of the use of municipal solid waste, and the understanding of it. Because some of the findings were that people don't understand it. Yes, some of the findings were that there is no money to install these changes. Because whenever you fit in municipal solid waste in a cement factory, you have to do some structural changes, because waste is not homogeneous, it's heterogeneous. You don't know what is coming there, so you need to do a lot of monitoring, a lot of risk assessment, and you must abide by your local air emission standards. So there's a lot of changes that's needed, and there's a financial implication. And I'm sure by the nature of it, you can actually see that you need people that are cognizant of what is going to, what does it imply to be monitoring emissions. So some people may not be willing to even start that journey because it seems daunting to most people. So those were basically my challenges and my realizations.
And did you discover something new in your studies, something that you did not know? And what were these things, if you discover some?
Definitely. So when I started my journey, my study, I used to think replacing municipal solid waste is just a matter of you take any waste that you see, and you check any waste that you see, and you basically just plug it in and just play it. But it's not a linear process like that. You waste. So this concept is called waste to energy. Waste to energy is more of a chemical process. It's a chemical engineering process than just a environmental saving process. So you need to do a lot of feasibilities. You need to do a lot of environmental checks with your waste to understand your waste, and then only then you can utilize it. My biggest realization as well was that it's more chemistry than you think, because you have to check. If you look at coal and if you look at a cement kiln, you are going to work with corrosive waste streams like your PVC. You find quite a lot of chlorine, and what this means for you is they may be very corrosive to the kiln, and those technical issues are not known to the next person easily. You have to make sure your fuel meets the international standard. I also understood my background was more of agricultural economics. It wasn't much of science. So when I started the journey, I wasn't expecting to jump into chemistry like that. So I learned a bit of chemistry, which I found it very interesting. I enjoyed, accumulating that knowledge. It was quite an experience. So I had to understand international standards. I had to find conforming to different standards on the same study. So that was my biggest takeout. It's the chemistry of it.
And did this research touch your life, or it was just the formality, just for you to pass your degree?
Frankly, initially, I just wanted to pass, like, oh, let me do this master's and pass. But it really touched my life because I met quite a lot of amazing people like yourself. I wasn't expecting to interact with different people, and I got into a research space that is very global, and I had to travel as well to Europe, which I'd never been to Europe. So in a way, personally, it touched my life because it had me go see places that I never think of and meet people that I never expected to meet, different minds.
Wow.
And I also realized that apart from the technology, apart from the chemistry, the human side of it, what do I mean by that is that any research you do, most of it it can be affected or changed by human behavior. I underestimated human behavior in a lot of these things. For example, I'll give you an example. People throw away litter everywhere they are. they just throw it down, or people don't do something called separation at source when they are putting out trash. You know, these days we have Pick It Up and all these municipalities teaching us to put plastic in this color, glasses in this color, metal in this color. And the biggest issue with my study and the efficiency of waste as a fuel is that if people separate it at source, it will be quicker to process it and make it a fuel than if people just mixed it in one bin. So I went to the lab, I went to see professionals, but the biggest change that needed to be done is human behavior. So basically, my biggest takeout as well, personally, was that I underestimated human behavior. I didn't see this from my own study. I saw it when I was having a research group, and everyone was worried about their results in the lab, in testing with technology, but we all underestimated the impact of human behavior in everything. Human behavior is the key and mainspring of a lot of problems that we have. So that is what I could say, how personally it changed my view.
Okay, that's interesting. That's also a good insight. And you tell us now about your journey. What are the challenges that you faced in your journey?
In my journey, most of my challenges honestly were personal. It was me trying to navigate this space of studying a master's. You know, a master's is not same as an honors or a bachelor's. I wasn't aware of that. I just thought it's a dissertation. You know, so most of the times I would get feedback from my supervisor, and what happens with the masters is that supervisors are not there to baby feed you and, you know, put hand to mouth and say, ah, no, go do this. This is how it's done. You are supposed to, as a master, you are supposed to research more on your own. And it made me realize that you need to get mentors for research. Like for example, you were my mentor. And without your help, I possibly would have taken more time navigating into some things. So I faced quite a lot of challenges, especially earlier when I was trying to do it alone, which I advise people to never do a research study alone. Of course, it's you who's going to be the author, it's you who's going to edit and write, but there's a lot of things that you learn. I didn't have a writing style as well. I wasn't aware you need to have a writing style. I wasn't aware of how to deal with the psychological setbacks that you face when you get negative reviews from a supervisor. And sometimes I'll be stuck for a long time trying to get past these psychological hurdles. But had I consulted more, had I had a lot of peers, all these things could have been managed very well. So yes, those were mainly my challenges.
Wow. And you are right that the biggest challenge that students normally face is that when they get these surprises from their supervisors, a kind of negative feedback, and how to deal with those ones. It's actually one of the biggest challenge that most students end up actually facing. And tell me, and how did you manage the pressure? How did you manage pressure? Or how did you manage all these challenges?
It's consulting, like, and also having a soundboard was very critical. I literally here and there underestimated it, but if you talk more about it, if you research more about it, you realize that you overcome your challenges easier. So can you hear me? I think my network is having a bit of a glitch.
Yes, I can hear you, but I can hear you. You can quiet.
Okay. Can you still see me?
Yes, I can still see you.
Okay, great. What I realized mainly is that you need to manage pressure by having timelines of when you want to do your tasks, break them down to smaller units of objectives. To say, for example, I'm doing my chapter 2, I need to touch these areas. I have these 3 objectives for my research. So in chapter 2, I'll try to do everything, but later on I realized I needed to be very structured and to be very systematic with my study by basically breaking down my key objectives, to say For example, my objective one was to identify the physical and chemical properties of municipal solid waste as an alternative fuel. I had to literally open a folder called the physical properties were moisture, ash, for example. So I had to open a folder called ash just to study ash only. So I said this week I'm studying ash, nothing else. So initially I didn't do that. I just started to look for chemical properties, physical, everything was so haphazard. And I also tried to look at challenges and opportunities that other people are facing, and then history of refuse-derived fuels, history of carbon dioxide emissions in energy, waste energy, what is it, what's going on. So there were a lot of things. So I even opened folders of literature to say ash. I would study ash content and methods to measure ash. What is ash? I opened another folder for volatile matter, for calorific value, for measure. So all those things taught me how to intimately understand sections of my study and really be a master. So that is how I ended up managing pressure. I dissected my key objectives into smaller units of networks. So, and then in the end, up to now, I have some bit of knowledge of how to, do this very well. And pressure is always there, whether you're organized or not. You must also cut yourself some slack and understand that you take a break. It's important. Well, go and talk to others. Sometimes when you talk to others, you realize how you are just stressing because you don't know. And honestly, you do not know what you do not know. So the first, just to summarize my realizations on pressure. The first thing about pressure is be systematic. Put folders of literature, have your literature review or whatever you're finding in a literature engine like Mendeley. I like Mendeley. That's what I use. So I always put I did it a bit later for doing it, but have your research literature bibliography and folders that associate anything that is outside of search engine you can add. So adding, then put in this folder, and then so that's number one. Number two is you need to have a mentor to ask. Okay, I'm stuck here. How do I maneuver? Someone like yourself was always there to help. Yeah, that's very key. You also need to have friends. You need to make friends with other people that are doing the same thing as you. It's good to siphon that energy sometimes. About your study, you only want to continue. But if you talk to someone, you realize, oh, you can siphon that energy. So it's important. It takes away pressure. So those are my advice for how to handle pressure.
You actually raised a very important point here. You raised the issue of Mandaray, the issue of technology and innovation. And it's one of our, actually is the main group aim, the use of technology and innovation in academic writing. And Mandaray is one of that technology that we are actually encouraging students to use and to save time. We are also encouraging students to learn how to type professionally, that they can save a lot of their time there. And we are also encouraging students as well to make use of soft copies. And how did you do in terms of hard copies versus soft copies? Which copies were you using?
I was using soft copies. I think I had like 2 only hard copies that I used. Well, this is a very digitalized world, and research is like a moving train. If you by any chance you miss it, you miss your timelines, you won't meet your submissions, especially if you're someone who's working and at the same time studying. If you don't want to embrace technology, you will miss this fast moving train. Literature review in all chapters, you review a lot of literature, and you need to have a search engine that will help you save your bibliography, your references. You need to be able to save them. and you can save them manually. So if you take a hard copy book, that means you're trying to save them manually, and you never win that race. So what you need to do is pick your engine first. If you can even have two. Unfortunately, in my case, I was doing, forget about hard copies. I was saving even the soft copies and my links in a folder, and I somehow lost the whole folder. And it was a bit chaotic to try and touch base with all those references, which are over 100. And remember, you don't just reference; you have to understand as well. Oh, okay, Keller in 2018 said this. Now you have to go look for that Keller from everywhere. And then there's 6 Kellers, or that Keller is not there. Or maybe the name you used, it's a German name. Maybe the E style is different. It will take you days just to come back to that. So people need to embrace.
Definitely.
People really need to embrace this technology issue very well.
Yeah, I understand you. I understand very well what you are talking about, because I remember myself in the few years back. I used to also write reference manually. So when the draft is ready now, and you now want to go back to those articles, and you don't find them, 70% of the articles, they went missing, and you end up changing.
Yes.
Or yeah. So yes,
I promise you, in the end, I think I changed 40% of my references, because now I had to find new people that were talking about the same thing. And because I lost my folder, and it took me 2 weeks and quite a lot of stress to get back to where I was supposed to be, or even advance. Yeah.
Oh, yes. You actually talked about also the second issue. You talked about the mentor, and do you think that you got the best out of this masters and doctoral degree tips and tricks? Do you think that it was useful to you?
Definitely, it was. So let me tell you something that's I didn't think was important. When I started studying my area of research, it was I also work in the waste management sector in South Africa. So I thought I know this thing very well. So I'm going to study this because I do this every day. It will be easy. I write business plans, I write proposals. So I was very confident walking in to say, I know I'll write this very well. But academic writing is not the same as writing a proposal. And you would never write a good proposal until you understand academic writing. So if you're someone who works in my field, it's very critical that you be taught how to. And I think you personally helped me how to do. I don't know if you remember when I started writing, things were making sense, but they're not flowing. Like you can see that there's quite a lot of technical information that is key, but they were not joining together. And one of the you took me back, and I think you remember. I remember when I was studying. What do you call this module in university? It's I think it's language and communication skills.
No,
They
communication
say
skills. Yes.
yes. They say tell them what you want to tell them, and then tell them what you taught them. You literally took me back to that, to communication skills 101. And then I realized, oh, okay, so I'm not really writing here. And then there's the synthesis of your writing. You taught me how to synthesize my writing. My things were not synthesized. It was just a lot of haphazard information. So the trick, I think I was basically the first student of the tricks and basically yes, our
Yes.
group. I was basically the tricks and tips. I can arguably say in a long time I was one of the first beneficiaries because it changed a lot. And I remember my chapter 1, I done 6 attempts to the supervisor, and then I think I came to your house, and then you set me down, you taught me how to synthesize, and that was it. I never got back to chapter 1 again. I wrote profile, I gave the supervisor, and she said, well done, no corrections. I was shocked
Yes.
to get no correction, and I moved. I'm like, okay, now I have an idea. And I started to enjoy it more now because I was engaged, I had information, so it was quite beautiful for me.
Yeah.
The
One
group,
thing that I liked about you, to be honest, is your willingness to do your own work. The problem with most students is they want me to do work for them. but consider at the moment I've got more than 20 students that I am helping, and it's actually difficult. I can't even sit down just to write a few things for them, but it's just overwhelming at the end of the day. So, but your willingness to do things on your own, it actually amazed me. And the day when I touched your final draft, I couldn't believe it was you anyway. So well done, and I'm actually happy. And do you think? Yes, yes.
Yes, just to add on to that, what I realized about studying is some people study because it's a derived demand. So I'm an economist, so sometimes I'll speak through language like derived demand. So what happened is, if you maybe want to get a promotion at work, or maybe you want to live in another, just say, I'll just study for me to be eligible. I advise people to not study only for eligibility. Study something that is easier. It won't be daunting to study. I was in the space first before I started it, so I just tried to solidify it. So I didn't want, it wasn't making sense for me to have anyone write for me, because I also wanted to walk the journey of finding out. And when I write a business plan, for example, you write a business plan that wants to attract quite a lot of investment, and imagine you do it and you have no idea what you're really talking about. It's even the banks won't accept the feasibility of your project because they're not in the hands of a professional. So what I tried to do was be a professional, and I can promise you, in most things, research is the core and mainspring of all human action. We used to have flu as a killer disease killing masses, but research had us jump that bridge. We used to have problems of COVID. I'll give you a close example of COVID. COVID came in and it killed a lot of people, and then in no time we identified how it spread, and we had the banks started to introduce contactless payment, wearing latex gloves, alcohol. It was research that took us there. So you need to understand that research is the core and pillar of everything. Whatever you do and you want to be good at it, you need to study it, and you need to study it personally for you to be a master there. So if you have a journey, if a career that you really want to pursue, and you can see that the HR department, human resources department says, for you to be a manager, you need to have at least a master's of something. And you just say, okay, I'm going to get a master's to get to this. If you just jump and want to get that promotion and not actually want to learn, it's not the same. You actually not, you need to have that integrity to want to go through it. That's just to add into your point of, I didn't just want to write for myself. I have a journey that I'm trying to go, and it takes me as accumulating that knowledge for me to get there.
Yeah. Wonderful. And I know you as an entrepreneur as well, and I know you might in the near future decide to do your doctoral degree, and my advice to you is something that you need to consider. As I always say, I'm not always right. It's for you to consider an entrepreneurial doctoral degree. Don't go for academic, because I know you as an entrepreneur. I think you can do well if you take that direction. What is your take? What do you think there?
That's very true. So when you're doing a dissertation or research, you're basically trying to come up with solutions to problems. So for me, I personally, on my master's, I identified a real problem that I did not know how to solve. And now I have an idea how to solve it. I also have an idea how to monetize it. It's important to not only do things for the sake of it. You need to. It's unfortunate that my area of study is a high capital intensive area that needs unspeakable amounts of funding. But it doesn't mean I have to do it alone. I'm currently working in the cement factory, in the cement sector now, trying to give alternative fuels. I studied municipal solid waste, but in the process, I learned about liquids. In the process, I learned about tire-derived fuels. So you see all those things, these are some of the things I'm trying to get done in the sector. And it came through research. And through research, I had to go meet industry practitioners. And they get excited as well to see people that are studying these things and are keen. And they don't keep the information they give you, and you become part of the future of the industry. So that's when I realized how in most cases, the presidents are advised by professors. I don't know if you noticed that. In a lot of, if we have a crisis, if you have a national crisis, you look at a news channel, they call a professor from a university to explain what's going on and how things can be done. Because these people are the pillars of research, and they're important to the world, to the politics, to everything. It connects. So imagine if you want to be in a leader in any area and you actually don't study, you will not getting the picture right. So for me, that is why I think it's key to have an entrepreneurial mind. Because in the mainstream corporate environment, whatever environment you are in, it needs you to show your information and your experience, and that is through understanding the academic space first.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. I think let's come to the.
Yes, I agree with you. I compare.
Yeah,
you
I
should
think
study to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I think our internet is actually one of the most challenging thing now. Can you hear me?
Are you with me?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Tapiwa? Can you hear me now? You are muted. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well. Can you hear me from the side?
Okay, all right. Our internet is quite a challenge. What I wanted to ask from you now at the end is how should we improve in our group Masters and Doctoral Degrees tips going forward?
Okay, are we reconnected? Can you see and hear me very well?
Yes, I can see you now. Yes, we are connected.
Thank you. Well, I think we're in the early stages of our interactions in as groups, and we need to basically have more interactive platforms like what we're doing now. We're in the right step. It's too early for me to identify a lot of things of areas of improvement, but this group is about individuals that are interested in furthering their researches, and people mainly want to just gain their personal gains and move on. So what we need to do is we need to have a lot of interaction, and we need to identify key members of the group, which we've already did, that need to continue with this quest that we are on. We're trying to put awareness, we're trying to help students with the research, and we need to find them where they are found. That is on the digital platforms. So maybe, and I think we've discussed this before, but we need to have our social networks active, and we need to have other people as well actively participate. For example, you do most of the recordings alone, you post. I could take up a role of doing a certain thing. Just like any organization, you have roles and responsibilities in the project team. So maybe we can possibly have a project team that is going to dissect some tasks. Of course, you record the media, but I could be doing something else. So I think we need to work together more as we move forward and expand our viewership. and expand the numbers in areas we want to get into. We should also look into into setting up objectives for the next year that's coming. So, oh, we want to get to these spaces, we want to talk to these people. We need these people to basically be part of us, and and see how far we can go. Just like any organization has a budget and a business plan for every year to say maybe we want to reach 100,000 plants if you're in farming, maybe so stuff like that. I think we need to set up, basically in a nutshell, we need to set up objectives for the upcoming year.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's actually a very good advice. I never thought of that. This group, to start this group, is just came. I think it's one of those initiatives that comes unexpectedly. After so many students has been encouraging me, then I end up coming out with this group. So yes, and I really value all your suggestions, and I will try by all means to make sure that all that you have just said now, they are also implemented in the future. Yeah, and tell me, what advice can you give to the other students that are also that are still pursuing their masters and their doctoral degrees, that are still in the journey?
Well, for me, obviously, research starts with a problem, like problem background or a research statement. My advice for me, my challenge was my research methods. I did not prioritize my research methods. For example, I wanted to identify the efficiencies of municipal solid waste as a fuel in cement production. And one of my second objectives was to optimize the carbon benefit of carbon dioxide. To me, every other person knows that there is methods of finding out carbon dioxide on the internet. Like you and I would think, it's not easy, it's not difficult to measure. But when I actually got that that can measure carbon dioxide, I ended up researching more. I was lucky enough to find a solution, but there was a week to find a solution. I was very that my research because I did not think about it. So research, start how you're going to start. It's a key to make sure every objective of yours can be calculated, or your results can be found in the integrity of the results. So my research, reputable, traceable research method. So I think it's key. As much as you have a research problem, identify a research method, consult as well. And I later on, after 2 years, in the second year, I had to go consult with, and I met a professor. Lucky enough, I was part of another research group as well. So there's a professor who was a chemical engineer, and he helped me simplify or extend carbon dioxide measuring as well. And furthermore, the first interaction with him was not enough for me to understand, because remember, I was flying blind. I was walking into the world of chemistry that I was not exposed to. I had to go to other cement manufacturing production managers as I was doing interviews to ask them how to measure carbon dioxide. They said, this is how we measure carbon dioxide here. So I ended up reading a lot of literature. And at the end of the time, and some of the methods were not in touch with my information. My methods were in tonnages. Some of them want to be in joules. So, stuff like that. You need to find it early. So that is my advice. Go be in touch with your research methods. Consult. Your research is not for you to pass. Your research is for you to understand what's happening in the world. So imagine, my problem was not only mine. So I ended up understanding what people are doing in the actual space, and it helped me so much to progress. So yes, I advise people to stay in touch with your research methods. That's number one. Number two, I advise people to use bibliography agents like Mendeley. Keep your references in touch. Every time you're writing, put your references in that search engine, so you don't have to come back and talk to your supervisor about your writing style. I was using APA for 2 years. During the last 2 days, my supervisor said, no, we use Harvard. imagine, imagine what had to happen. Even up to now, I've submitted, but I have a feeling my research is going to come back with a bit of corrections on bibliography. Because in 48 hours, I had to change 200 references from APA to Harvard. And I'm seeing, oh, Harvard doesn't need you to put brackets. Okay, everything in brackets and a bit of, I have to do an indent. All those things happen. So pressure was created. And so you see, I advise people to stay, don't underestimate your references. Another thing is use it willy-nilly. You need to not compromise the integrity of research by just copying and pasting what ChatGPT says. You need to take the information as raw data, process the data integrate it into how you want it. Don't be lazy. I mean, another key thing as well is research and laziness don't balance. I don't know if you're familiar with the liberal scale where things balance here. Laziness is higher, your research integrity is lower. If your research integrity is high, your laziness is low. So you don't want to be lazy. If you want to study, if you're still lazy, then you're not yet ready. It's a personal decision you must do. Research is a game of patience. It's patience, and that's why they give you 2 years. Some people think they do it in a month. I used to think I could do it in a week, but honestly, research research is a process of integrity, self-discovery, patience, and endurance. It's a lot of things. So those are my advice. So don't abuse ChatGPT. Don't abuse artificial intelligence, and don't bite yourself over. Use technology as well to your advantage. For example, there is Grammarly. Grammarly's got sent. You get into groups, pay for Grammarly, and don't worry about grammar. It will teach you grammar. It will teach you as well writing styles. But at the same time, you don't use it to finish. Use it to help you write. So sometimes it makes suggestions that don't make a scientific approach. So you basically need to use it properly. So those are, I think we've got 5 minutes left there. And so those are my contributions to what can other people improve on. Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. And right, I think, and one thing that I can assure you is you will pass. I saw your dissertation. I was actually impressed, as I said. And can you describe your journey in less than 3 words? What was the journey like?
Daunting, discovery, and you know, I can say what's that word? It was like an epiphany. It's a journey of self-discovery, daunting and exciting. Those are the 3 words I'll choose.
Well done. Thank you so much, Tapiwa, for agreeing to come to this series of overcoming Masters and Doctoral Degree Challenges interview series. And yeah, we hope to see you very soon when you enroll for your PhD. I know once you start studying, I know you always want to go ahead, you know. Thank you so much for coming. What else do you have? Do you have any question, something to say?
Yeah, I just want to add on and say I'm now a very curious person for my research. I want to study more. That's why I'm looking for a PhD topic that is not just a topic, it's a problem. I sort of have ideas. I don't want to move away from alternative fuels because in the process of diverting waste, you're also creating low carbon solutions in industry, and there's quite a lot of industry knowledge, and I want to be a professional in that space for one day. So I'm excited to keep looking. I'm doing small proposals for myself to identify that space, and I'm enjoying the curious mind that I now have. You say research, but my conclusion is research is the core and mainspring of all human action and progress. You need to research. That's all. Every problem you have, research. Even if you're having a relationship problem with your spouse or anyone, research why you think that you have a problem, research why the problem exists, and then you can never solve it. Everything you do, research. Yeah. So that's the last conclusion.
That was actually interesting.
It's quite bad. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can still hear you, but it's really bad. But that was actually interesting that when you have got a marriage problem, just do research to find the problem and the solution. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming, and enjoy your evening.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Cleopas. Looking forward to seeing you again.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
All right. Cheers. Bye.